something I mentioned was taking 2.5D to 2.9D, where you're actually able to have a predictable playing field that is in the 2.5D nature. Use that in ways like the bouncing, the reflecting, so each level is almost a pool table of predictability of angles and things that you can reflect off of. But then you can go deep into that world, and what's happening, what you see in that world, you will eventually get to. So it took us a lot of time to figure that out. It would have been easier just to have open world than the way we're doing it now. But that stayed true to what our most hardcore fan base wanted, and new fans were reacting to it as well, so we stayed on that path. And I'm amazed at how many people it's actually done that to. How many people, I see some guys sometimes, they're like, that's terrifying looking guy, he's a big guy, like in Europe, something. He goes, he'll open his shirt and it's like big Abe tattoos on his chest. And he goes, my brother and I, in another, hooligan looking massive meat, right? Like, my brother and I, you have no idea, dude. We went through such shit with our stepfather, but Abe got us through. And that's why amazing. We're both, huge fans. I have everything he ever made. Like, you're really surprised at the range of people. I think it's a lot of the fans are people that feel isolated, and quite frankly, in the world, they feel alone. And that's one of the biggest problems in the world. You saw is pre-alpha.
Yes.
But we spent a lot of time on it.
It looks releasable to me.
It does. Well,
but
great,
you're coming out next year with this game,
yes,
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How do you make a call like that? Do you make it yourself, or do you have a group that's?
Well, we have. I'd like to make the call myself, and then I get beat up when people tell me in-house and out. And then you're wrong on your prediction, and you get beat up by everybody.
Yes.
But you just try to make your best guess. I mean, you can't spend forever on a game. Eventually, you run out of money. So you got to try and be smart and try and focus on the things that really matter, that are going to make a difference. And hopefully you're nurturing your fan base along the way, so by the time you get to market, people actually know about it, which is huge. But this time has been really surprising, because just in the videos, the short trailers that we've been putting out, we're exceeding any views we ever had in the past. So we're now seeing millions of views on videos and things like that, and it's staggering for us. It was really important to us to evolve it in a way that was exciting, but still stayed true to the original nature of that character. And I think that was a big challenging part. So we wanted fresh blood to look at it. Something I tell people on the team, whether they're engineers or designers, I go, look, these opinions that you're giving us, like, you might be an engineer, but you have this passionate opinion about gameplay. We want to hear it. We always want to hear it, even if we don't use it, even if you feel like we're ignoring you. Don't stop telling us.
Right.
Because for us, it's not like I need to build the game that I need to feel good about. I need to build the game that the audience needs to feel good about, and I need to be happy with that.
Good ideas come from everywhere.
And good ideas come from everywhere, so there's a lot of nurturing that.
Why have you stayed with video games? It's such an up and down business.
Yeah.
It's a tumultuous one.
Yeah.
It's a challenging one for people at every scale.
Yeah.
And you've had lots of different careers and lots of different sort of roads in your career, but you've stayed with video games. Why?
I think it's one of the hardest things I've ever did, hands down. Like, people say, "Oh, I love making games." Making games is terrible, man. It's brutal. It's hard on your health. It's demanding. It's frustrating the whole time. Most of the time you're building things don't work.
Yeah.
But I think the fan base is really part of what keeps you going. When I look at all the Abe tattoos out there, the Oddworld tattoos, I mean, I'm kind of blown away about how we've been able to sustain a couple generations of fans, and now we're getting their kids playing, and this has been working for us. And ultimately, stay true to that genre, but evolve it. And this is really what the audience was telling us they wanted. They wanted to see more of a classic sort of play style, but with more 21st century touches. And that's what I think we've been trying to focus on. It hasn't been easy, but because we've had to figure out a lot of new play styles that we had difficulty saying, what other game does this well? And some of the things we're doing were just so off the cuff and different that we didn't, it was hard to even find comparables, which means more time of us testing and discovering and figuring out what works and what doesn't, but hopefully we get that right. Pretty excited about how we think the audience might react to that, and it's getting kind of juicy.
Well, it's awesome to see that you got gameplay here at E3. When can we expect this thing? Because I know it's a big project for a small team.
It is a big project for a small team. We've been working on it for 3 years already. We hope to be done in the next year, in 2020. We hope to be delivering. It's our target.
Yeah.
And but as I say, it's going to be great. It's got to be great, whether we're going to get slaughtered. We know how.
The fans online want the best, but it said, and also we have such a fond memory of a lot of these franchises, and it's great that they're back, but we want them to be fantastic. And
We
also
got to
the fact that you're
do it. We got to
evolving
do
is
it well,
great.
or they're not going to keep supporting us. So we're trying. We're getting to learn who our audience was, right? Because in '97, you had no idea, and Walmart didn't tell you.
You hope it's everybody.
You hope it's everybody. No one's filling out the form in retail. But we actually got to hear the audience opinion, and they wanted more of the Abe games in a classic sense. And so that led to us redoing Abe's Odyssey as new and tasty, which was really close to that idea of that first part of the epic. And then they said, do the next one, because we asked them, if we succeed at this and you don't want to kill us, what do you want us to do next? And they were, redo Exodus. And we're like, well, if we're going to go there, then why don't we just do it right? And we had enough success with new and tasty that we were able to finally do a entirely new game and revisit the sort of lost heritage of what we wanted to achieve and plug it into this one and go for it. We really wanted to push the dimension on top of the classic. And we were trying to study the audience. We're going, why do they still really want this 2.5D sort of platformer classic impression? And then there was reasons for that. You know, some of them were, we want a more directed experience. We don't want to just be aiming our camera. You know, we made, you know, Stranger's Wrath, other games. They were POV, over the shoulder. And so we were like, this is very interesting, because the reasons they wanted it was a lot of the reasons why I chose the platformer genre to begin with, because I felt like I was the guardian angel over a character in a desperate situation, rather than trying to project as being the character, which is what I am in a POV game, you know, typically. And that's what the audience was responding to. So we said, well, if we're going to play with that format, how do we stay true to what gave it its integrity, but how do we evolve it in ways? And as I would say, this is not a revolutionary game, it's an evolutionary game about revolution.
And that's what really led us to start rebuilding our own, you know, self-publishing of those titles in that library. And all of that, I mean, we really are, we're not crowd-funded, but the fans are what enable us to keep on making games because they buy them. And that's a new place for us. We're not out raising money. We're actually converting those sales into new products.
Now everyone's just like, shut up and take my money, right?
The more that's happening, the more grateful we are.
So what I've always loved about the Oddworld games is they've kind of run the gamut. Like you mentioned earlier, we've had 2D games, 3D World, 3D games like the launch title on the original Xbox. But Soulstorm looks to kind of be a hybrid here. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the aesthetic and the gameplay style.
You bet. Well, a lot of it was driven by our fan base, because we were really trying to analyze why we were getting such heavy requests for the old style games. They were like, no, we want the platformers. We made Munch's Odyssey. It was more free roving. You know, we made Stranger's Wrath, which was POV and third person and fully free roving. And I was like, you know, I was kind of surprised that people wanted that 2.5D-ish classical format. And so we studied it a while, and what we learned from them is they were like, we don't want to steer through a world. Like, there's a lot of games I can do that. I want the world presented to me like a director presents a film. And that was funny, because that was the reason I originally chose the platformer format when I was trying to convince my partner, Sherry McKenna, like why the game wasn't going to be on 3D. And she had just come out of a career of 3D graphics. And I was like, yes, yeah, that part. Let me tell you about that. Yeah, it won't be, right? But what we were aiming at was the format felt less like you were the guy and more like you were the guardian angel over this guy, sort of trapped in a world of hardships and conditions. That's what drew me to the platformer format. That's how I felt in Out of This World and Flashback in those early games, Prince of Persia, that really inspired me that way. And I was like, let's take this further. Let's take this Hollywood further in terms of story, character development, dilemmas, empathy. And so that started it, but I didn't expect that people at this day and age would still be asking for that. And so where that left us was why, and we had some good ideas, and then it was like, okay, but if we're going to go there, how do we expand it? And that's something where we created a term we call 2.9D, which is allowing you to enter the dimension more, and you have full mobility around this world, even though it's still playing in a classical format of 2.5D.